Welcome back to Novel Writing 101, the 21-week course where I teach you how to write the first draft of your novel. Now it's week 4, the last week of our planning and prep phase. After this, we're going to jump into writing. But today, we're going to finish tackling outlines as well as word count goals and personal contracts. Ready? Let's get started. Before we jump into today's lecture, be sure to head to angiekadis.com/novelwriting101 to download your free worksheet. Now, last week we talked about plot structures, and this week we're going to wrap up our conversation on outlines so you're totally ready for section B, writing and execution. Regardless of whether you decided to use a plot structure or not, an outline can be a great way to get all your thoughts in order, and there's no one way to go about it. Last week I shared my personal process for my messy brain dump style outline, but you can use any method you prefer. Maybe your outline is more reminiscent of the formal outlines we had to do in grade school, where every single story beat is broken down and dissected for its impact and how it contributes to the overall theme of your story. Or maybe you want to do a more character-focused outline, where you break down the main character's arc and how their personality, views, and morals might change from the beginning of the book to the end. Like I said, there's no wrong way to go about your outline. Whatever works best for you is the way you should do it. As our planning and prep section winds down, it's important to start thinking about how you'll tackle your first draft from an execution standpoint. Writing can be a daunting process, and sometimes it's more than just simply telling ourselves we'll set aside time to write later. Even with the best intentions, it's easy to make excuses when things get hard. That's why I highly suggest setting deadlines and goals to keep yourself accountable and ensure you're making steady progress. Word count goals are my favorite way to stay on track while writing my first draft. By setting daily or weekly targets, you're dedicating yourself to actually getting the work done versus just sitting in front of your laptop or mindlessly scrolling on social media. In week 2, one of your decisions was to come up with an estimated word count range for your novel based on genre and how much story you had to tell. Now I want you to use that estimate and crunch some numbers to figure out what it's going to take to write your first draft in 16 weeks. First, you're going to take that estimated word count range and find a number in the middle you're comfortable with. Then you're going to divide that by 16. This is going to give you how many words you need to write per week to hit your target goal at the end of 16 weeks. Let's give an example. Let's say you're writing a thriller novel that you estimate between 70,000 and 90,000 words. We'll use 80,000 as your estimated total word count goal. Then we're going to divide that by 16, which gives us 5,000. So in order to hit that 80,000 mark, you're going to need to write 5,000 words per week for our 16 weeks. So whatever number you come up with for your personal project, this is going to be your weekly word count goal. Then we're going to take that same number, that weekly number, and divide it by 7. This is going to give you your daily word count goal. Again, if we use our same example of an 80,000 word thriller novel, divide that by 16 to get our weekly word count goal, then divide that by 7, we're going to get 714 words as our daily word count goal. So whatever numbers you get, make sure to write those down. Now, it's up to you how you structure your goals and use them to motivate you. You might find that a daily word count goal feels like too much pressure. Or maybe you simply don't have it in your schedule to carve out time to write every single day. This is where a weekly word count goal could be helpful. Or maybe you prefer to ignore word count goals entirely and instead focus on chapters. If you've chosen an outline method that gives you an estimated number of chapters, then this can be a great way to track your progress. For example, if you're shooting for a 30-chapter novel, then you're going to need to write at least 1 to 2 chapters per week to hit that goal over our 16 weeks together. And if you don't want to rely on word count or chapter goals, you can always just focus on time spent writing. My favorite way to do this is to set a 30-minute daily writing goal. 30 minutes you can kind of find anywhere. Scroll less on social media, don't watch a show, fit it in on your lunch break. And this way, there's no pressure of writing so many words. You just need to sit down and work for a small period of time, and then you've accomplished the daily goal. Also, I found through this method personally for me that oftentimes I write more than 30 minutes when this is my goal, because the hard part is getting started. So once you actually sit down and start writing, you might find that ideas come to you more easily and you get in a flow state, and that 30 minutes might turn into 45 or 60. Whichever way you seek to go about holding yourself accountable through this process, I want to note that it's still important to keep that estimated word count goal in mind. It can help you gauge how far along you are in your manuscript and if you might need to pick up the pace. But I also want to note that your estimated word count goal is an estimate. Your novel will be likely much longer or much shorter depending on your writing style. For example, some writers just like to get the bare bones of their story down when they're writing a first draft. Like them, you might leave gaps in dialogue or skip writing a big fight scene or make a note to come back to something later. In this instance, you'll still be making progress through your novel chapter by chapter, but will probably fall significantly short of your word count goal. On the other hand, some writers enjoy fleshing out every single detail possible in their first draft. Like them, you might enjoy dumping all of your thoughts into the manuscript as soon as possible. You're not going to worry about how messy dialogue might be or how a fight scene might flow. You can refine that all in edits. In this instance, you'll probably get close to or way over your word count goal. Again, there is no right answer here. Whatever you feel called to do it. Write a note to yourself in the middle of a chapter that says, "Figure this out later," or spend an hour refining a conversation between two characters. Get your story out in whatever way you need to. The first draft process is for introducing yourself to the story. The editing phase is for refining that story and introducing it to the world. Okay, your biggest task for this week is to complete that outline. Again, whatever that outline looks like to you. Once that's done, I want you to create something called a personal contract. Now, this is really just an agreement with yourself to hold yourself accountable and make sure you know exactly what goals you're going after. So I want you to download week 4's worksheet and fill out that personal contract by the end of this week. Again, it will ask you to set a hard goal for yourself, whether that be a word count goal, a chapter goal, or a time-based goal. This is going to be your guiding light through the first draft process. It's going to help you see how much progress you're making, where you may be moving forward, and how you may be falling behind. Whatever goal you choose, I want you to commit to it. Set something that's challenging but also attainable. And remember, I'm here with you every step of the way. If you're unsure how to set a realistic goal for your novel, drop a comment or send me a DM. I'll help you out. Now, with all this talk of goals and personal contracts, you may think you've gotten in a little bit over your head, but I'm here to tell you that's not the case. When I wrote my first 2 books, I was working a full-time marketing job. Now, was it easy to come home and write every single day? No. Did I always want to spend 9 to 11 p.m. hunched over my laptop with the knowledge that I still had to work in the morning? Also no. But was it worth it to finally put time aside to pursue my dreams? 1,000%. You can write this book. You will write this book. Whatever personal combinations you need to make or sacrifices, just know that it will be worth it when you have that final manuscript in hand. The truth is, your dreams don't work unless you do. So let's get this shit done. Together. Congrats, you finished another lecture and are one step closer to the writing process. Now again, this is our last week of Section A, Planning and Prep. You'll need to get all the homework done in Section A before you move on to Section B, Writing and Execution. Now, like I said earlier, your homework for this week is to complete your outline and create that personal contract. Both are crucial for what comes next, which is actually writing your first draft. We spent 4 weeks preparing for this very thing. Are you excited? I know I am. But if you're scared or nervous, do not worry at all. That's normal, and I'm only a comment or a DM away if you need to talk. So that's a wrap on Section A, Planning and Prep. Like I said, next week we'll jump into the fray with Section B, Writing and Execution, and start to turn your premise into an actual story. Thank you so much for sticking with me. I hope you found this informative so far, and I cannot wait to see what you create. As always, don't forget to do your homework, and I'll see you next time.